Now to our series, Feel the Love. And today we're talking about a subject a lot of men may shy away from. We're talking about their feelings.
But with a little support and encouragement, some men are opening up to talk about their emotions and what's stressing them out. Take a look.
Talking to like-minded men really helped me from the standpoint of understanding that I'm not alone.
When you're around a bunch of men, you can be yourself. I think it's similar when women are in groups. But just opening up and just being vulnerable.
There are certain types of support that, as wonderful as my wife is, that I can't get from her.
Meet Marcus, Ryan, and Blair, 3 guys feeling the stress of life in 2021. Marcus is married with 3 kids, ages 18, 4, and 3 months. Ryan is engaged and plays professional baseball, but games are on hold and there's a lot of uncertainty in his career. Blair and his wife are both working from home while helping their daughters with remote learning. To get things off their chest, Marcus and Blair are part of a male support group. Ryan is new to the group and was excited to give it a shot. So we brought in marriage and family therapist George James to lead a virtual discussion.
How have you managed, juggled, responsibilities at home?
It's been challenging. There was a lot of arguments at first and frustrations and discussions like, well, your career is more important than mine and vice versa, right? I got my language together about how to really talk through these issues such that it could be best received. And those words weren't my own. I can't take credit from it, right? It came from the men's group.
How does talking about your anxieties or making time for the emotional part or the romantic part, how do you feel like that's made you a better partner?
I have opportunity to kind of refill my cup. And I find that as long as I put it on a family calendar, my wife is happy to see me go to those meetings because I come back a more whole person.
I guess I have a kind of a question for the group then. How have you guys learned to open up to your spouses in a way that's, you feel like you're fully being your true authentic self?
A lot of traditional men in my family where you don't talk about your emotions, you swallow them and you keep on moving. But through the men's group, it's allowed me to kind of use them as a springboard to even check myself as I'm speaking, as I'm expressing myself. So now that when I go back to my wife, I can present whatever it is that I need to express to her in a way that she will receive it.
All right, guys, I'm about to get real personal. I'm about to go there. I want to know, during this time, has the romance in your life gone down? Has it decreased?
I foolishly thought that by the fact that we would be home all the time, that there would be more opportunity for romance. And so I remember me and my wife getting into some serious, let's just say, debates about the frequency of those sessions, and it was frustrating.
What did suffer was the other side of romance, the flowers, the going out, the whining and dining, all that side of romance did suffer, just because there was nowhere to go.
I'm hearing you guys talk about it, and I'm really starting to think what are ways that we can kind of reinvent date night, reinvent things, maybe finding that different way of diving into maybe a new experience that we haven't ever done before.
It's big for my wife and I's date night, and we've had to revamp date night and figure that out and figure out what's the best way. And sometimes it's just been in the car, eating in the car and connecting. But what I've valued about that is the emotional connection. So who do you think men talk to if they're not talking to their partner or their friends?
What I found is that most people were self-medicating sometimes as a way to manage it. They weren't talking to anyone about it. And so they were just sitting with it. And so that made them that much more in danger of kind of snapping in a lot of ways.
Had it not been for the group, I would be one of those men that continues to internalize everything, find ways to continue to push through till you reach that boiling point, till there's nowhere else to push anything, any emotion, any feeling, any stress.
What would be the advice that I should give to other men looking to create this safe space?
I think a lot of men respond to examples. So when we lead by example and say I'm a part of a men's group, I've gotten value out of a men's group, I think that stands really strong. But what people I think fail to realize is that men aren't scared of deep. right? They just gotta have the opportunity to get there.
You need to feel like you're in a place with a group where you're not going to be judged.
That's right.
You need to have that comfortability where you can just say what's on your mind.
As long as the space, that safe space is there, and you're able to talk freely and openly, you'll find that it'll just continue to blossom into something great.
So interesting, right?
A lot to learn.
All right, when we come back, therapist George James, he has some advice for the guys in your life. That's after this. We are back with licensed marriage and family therapist, one of our favorites, George James, who's got some advice to help you and the guys in your life express themselves.
It was so fun, by the way, George, listening to the conversation you're having with all those men. And I know that there are lots of advice for men, but I think you should give us advice, the women in the men's lives, because I think we want our guys to open up and talk to us. Is there a right way to approach it so that he's not backing away from you, he's kind of leaning in?
You know, first of all, I'm just happy to be here. I'm celebrating my birthday with both of you, so I feel really good.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And, you know, to your point, like, I think that a lot of men want to open up, but they're testing the waters. And sometimes I think the women in their life will want them to open up, but might not fully listen or hear what they're saying, and will maybe sometimes attack them. And the men quickly say, that's it, I can't do this again. And they will shut down immediately.
I think one of the things that I've struggled with personally is that some men were taught in their families not, you know, not to cry.
Right.
Like, it's, you need to be
Don't
tough.
express yourself.
You know,
yeah.
and my husband luckily had a mom that said, you know, feel, you're allowed to feel, but sometimes he has a hard time with feeling, with allowing himself that space. So what do we do to get over those societal norms?
You know, you're right. I work with a lot of men where that is part of their struggle. And, you know, I've seen some change over the years. I've seen some clients. But even with my son, who's 8, like, I'm often encouraging him to think about his feelings and to share those feelings. So I often share with a lot of men the feelings chart. I want them to know and learn their feelings, that it's okay to express it. But also safety is important. As you saw in the last piece, that's why a lot of men can get a lot out of the groups, because they feel that they can be themselves, they can open up, there's safety there, and that's what I want in their relationships.
Yeah, I think that's smart. Okay, will you just role play a little bit for us? Because let's say your husband comes home from work, your boyfriend or whatever, and he's just in a foul mood, and you want to know, like, is everything okay? And you don't want to be harping on him, but you do want to know. How would you play out that scenario? What's a way to get to the bottom of what's going on?
In every relationship, there's somebody who wants to talk right now, and then somebody who wants to wait a little bit later. There's a pursuer or there's a distancer. That's just normal, every relationship. So the person who's like, oh, hey, something's going on. What's going on? How are you feeling? Sometimes you might need to be a little bit more patient and to recognize, hey, babe, I see something's going on. Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it now? Can we talk about it later? Set a time for you to talk about it. And hopefully that will allow you both to get there, because maybe right away he's not ready to open up yet.
I think one of the things that's been challenging about the last 10 months is that we can't go meet our girlfriends for a drink or a workout. We can't meet our guy friends to talk about what's on our plate. So but why is it so important that we have networks outside of our partners?
Yeah, you know, like, a lot of people and a lot of men sometimes don't even realize how much they're holding. All the hardship, the negativity, the trauma, all the different things that might be going on. And then you throw in a pandemic, then you throw in, like, economic strife and difficulties, and then racial injustice. It's just a lot. So having a safe space can allow men to release, whether it be a hobby, whether it be a virtual setting, and then it allows that steam to not only pour off, but then they can come back to the relationship and connect and be their full self, and not just be irritable or angry or distant in the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, Joel's always happy. He's got, like, if he has a golf thing or he has things with his friends, I just feel like he comes back differently than when he left. And if we think that we're enough for our partner by ourselves, we're mistaken. Like, everybody needs more stuff in, but I think that's important to give them permission.
Yes.
Go,
To
like,
that
enjoy.
guy's
Don't
trip.
guilt him up like, well, I guess if you're going to go, when are you going to be back?
I'll change the diaper.
Don't worry, I'll clean up, enjoy, but there's a way to do it and not be so judgy. I'm telling that to myself.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And to me.
I totally believe there should be a give and take, right? And that it's okay for the women to have their time as well for the men, and then to appreciate the couple time together. And I think when there's that just freedom within the relationship, we support each other, we trust each other, and we know that, look, I can't wait till I get back. I had a good game of golf, but when I get back, I'm going to have a good time with my partner.
That's cool. All right.
Good advice, George.
Thank you so much.